Rely. All right, all right. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry we're just a couple of minutes late. We needed to pray, make sure that we always want to keep the Lord invited, an open invitation to the Lord to come in and speak to us and speak through us and help us. So I see some people on. Say good morning. If you can hear me and everything is looking and sounding all right, we appreciate it. As we get into this topic today, it has been quite the ride to hear the Lord speak. We started a few months ago talking about hope and in these desperate times that we're dealing with. And that was quite encouraging for us to just look at the hope, and then that evolved into looking at love, because nothing is going to work without love. And then as we started talking about love, we said, man, the big roadblock, hey, good morning, Ma. The big roadblock to love actually coming to fruition and manifesting in powerful ways that unites people and does amazing damage to the kingdom of darkness. The roadblock is unforgiveness. So we just want to continue this conversation and allow God to speak into all of us, because all of us that are speaking to you today have already been challenged in some way or another to forgive. So it's just amazing. You start talking about this stuff and you immediately get challenged. So, but before I do that, I just want to make you aware that make sure you listen all the way to the end, because I got some announcements I want to make sure you hear about. So with that being said, we're going to get cut right to the chase. Hey, Sister Pat and Glittery Crunkle. Okay. Good morning from the Boykins. All right, good morning. I'm trying to figure out what. That's an interesting name. So good morning. I know some more people are going to come on, and we apologize that we couldn't make it last week. We were out of town, and the place where we were in just didn't have the bandwidth. We did everything we could. We went and bought a new router, all of this stuff for this place that we were in, and we just couldn't do it. So we apologize for that, but we pray that today will make up for it. We pray that you had a good Thanksgiving and that you forgave some folks before you got to the dinner table. And as we're getting ready to go into the Christmas season. So what a timely subject to talk about forgiving people. Some people miss out on Christmas because I'm not going. If she gonna be there, if he gonna be there, I'm not going. Now, I'm not buying you nothing. I'm not a part of the gift exchange this year because I'm mad because I don't want to get her name. I don't want to get his name, and all of this kind of crazy stuff. And it's already enough tension going on, and so you add that to the holidays, which Christmas is the peak season for suicide and drug use and depression. And you add a bitter and unforgiving soul to that, and you got a lot of trouble. So we thank God that we can actually offer some help and relief for people at this time. So we're trusting that by the end of this topic, you'll go into your Christmas season with your family and friends, however you celebrate, whatever you do, that it'll be a blessing for you. That's really all we want to do. We want to bless you. That's what we really want to do. So this topic of freeing yourself from the torment of not forgiving. And I just want to bring in our speakers so they're a little bigger. Hope you can see them all okay. Oh, we had a little pre-conversation prior to this stream, and we were already like, wow, okay, we off in the deep end here, right? So I just want to hear y'all bring up some of the stuff that y'all were already saying, because we had a few scriptures that we brought up, and we talked about this negative impact that we're hoping that we all can be freed up from, the torment of not forgiving. And I'm not going to stand here and say, hey man, I'm totally free from my unforgiveness. I'm done. I've learned don't say that, because as soon as you say that, you're gonna find out it's there. So and it usually crashes and burns. It hurts bad when you find it out. So I just say, hey, God, I'm open. So I want to hear from y'all.
Can I, Terry said something while we were, not public, and it just had me thinking, because about unforgiveness. You know how somebody might take you and capture you and torment you the whole time that they got you. And the time that you're in captivity, just look at captivity as the unforgiveness. When you're in captivity, you are fighting. For just look at your life. You're fighting very, very hard. When you're in captivity, I hear myself, Aaron. For just look at your life. You're fighting very, very hard. When you're in captivity, I hear myself, Aaron. For just look at your life. You're fighting very, very hard. When you're in captivity, I hear myself.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. So when you're in that captivity, you're fighting very hard to be free. It's like it's nothing you would not do to escape the torment that's being given to you at that point. So that's kind of how we have to look at unforgiveness. We have to fight. It may look bleak. It might be a lot of dark days in unforgiveness. Just think of being in a room of total darkness, and then the capture come and open the door, and that's the only time you get that little glimpse. But you might see some things in the room that you need to fight with that will allow you to set yourself free. So all I'm saying is, really, it's a great battle. It's not one of those things that we can just say, oh yeah, tomorrow it's over with. It is a consuming battle that you have to take on in order to be free.
All right, let me take a moment. That's my wife, Pamela, that just got finished speaking. I did kind of overstep the introductions. And then we got Dan Harris down there at the bottom. Sister Rebecca, if you just wave your hand so people know who you are. Community activist, mother, servant of the living God. She's all over the place, as is Dan. And Terry Ann Wade, all the way down in lovely Atlanta. Just been a blessing to the kingdom in so many different ways too. So, all right, so go ahead. So I would like for us to address, what does that, like Pam that was very beautiful, the way you just took what Terry said and made it a picture. I think in pictures too. So what's happening in that captivity? What is actually happening? So we know that unforgiveness is captivity, it's torment. What does that captivity actually look like?
In my opinion, in my experience, it's the voices that you hear that justify why you need to stay tormented. The mind may start, or the demons, I believe the demons will just start talking to you. Well, you better not go over there, or she'll do this to you. What if she does that? What if he does that? It's just a constant torment. And I think, as I mentioned, I think the last time we talked, it's not just one demon. They're bringing other demons, and I believe the what they want to do ultimately is you to harm yourself or harm others, put you in a state where you distrust God, and question your relationship with God, and question your relationship with people that are around you. And that's the mental torment that people go through for decades. And I think people go through it for so long, they think it's normal. They think it's a part of their who they are. But it just doesn't stop there. It spreads to other people, other situations. And that's just been my experience.
Another thing I would add, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Is the demons talking to you, but also the replaying of situations of what happened, like a movie in your head over and over and over again.
Oh,
that
yeah.
keeps
Yep.
you, even when you get to a point where you want to forgive or you want something different with it, then it brings you right back to the beginning, or where it all started from, where it makes you run through all those emotions all over again, and anger and rage and those type of things coming up that just keeps you where you can't move out of it, because it keeps you in that spot, where it began. And you know what I'm saying, it's very hard to move from that spot. It's very hard to grow from that spot if you're constantly reminded of it.
Lord. Oh, Lord.
And how do we move away from that spot? How do we get those images of disappointment, trauma to go away? How do we stop making that replay in our head? What takes place? That's the freedom that the message is titled today. The topic we're sharing is about. How do I stop replaying in my head what happened that disappointed me so badly, or embarrassed me so badly, or made me feel ashamed, or made me feel, to speak to what Dan said earlier, that God is not, how did God let this happen to me? Some of those things we're thinking about, we feel at that moment, how did God let this happen to me? And I think that's a part of the holding on to it, because there's maybe just a little bit of us that wants, I don't want to say revenge, but we want to be paid for that hurtful moment or instance in our lives sometimes that took place that may have hurt, even if it was the little girl in me. To get that to stop replaying, what do we need to do to get that? Lord, help us, show us, how do we stop that from replaying? Now, sometimes that tormenting is it's extreme, and it was traumatic, but it we still have a choice to make the decision to not hold on to that unforgiveness. And could it be that we very well hold on to the things that people have done wrong to us, even if they're wrong? They could be completely wrong. Could it be that we're keeping that separation of they did that to me, them and they, instead of us? So as soon as we start separating. If it's just me, like against the world, remember the rap song? If it's me against all of y'all, my perception is going to be, how are y'all going to treat me? But when it's us, when you have that us, now we got to work together to make some things happen. So that's what's going to stop me from trying to hold on to whatever Aaron could have done wrong to me last year. Because the thing about forgiveness and love is there something that I can do to you that you will not hold on to forever? Can you love me that deeply? Can you love me so deeply that the traumatic experiences that replay in my head, that they will go away because you see that I've experienced trauma? I'm gonna give a different example. I'm gonna try to make this brief, I'm sorry. But think about it. If you have a relationship with I'm not even gonna say a child, because some people don't have kids. Let's say your niece or nephew. Yes, y'all get along great because you love them instantly. Nobody had to say, could you love your niece or nephew? You just instantly love that baby when you meet that baby, right? It's an unconditional type of love. You spend time with that child, you cultivate that relationship. For every situation, you're there for that child. If that child gets hit by a semi truck and cannot participate in your relationship the way they did before that trauma happened, can I still love that niece or nephew the same way that I did before they were capable of doing what I say they should do, acting the way I feel they should act, being who I thought they should be, going to the college I feel they should go to, having the personality that I wanted them to have? So that's the thing. And I would say to my auntie or my uncle, could you please still love me after my trauma? Because some of the life circumstances were traumatic for people. It doesn't have to be a truck hit you. It could be some experiences in life that have caused you to see things differently and to feel like you're coming through a traumatic experience. Can you still love me? Will you please still love me the same way you did before I had that traumatic experience.
Whoa, that's powerful. That's powerful. And I think that I think, man, it's almost like, let's just take a break and let that sink in, because this plagues us.
Yeah.
Especially if we go back to what Pam said before we started streaming, you're dealing with the 70 times 7. And so here you have this person who, and the 70 times 7 comes from, it's in the Bible. Peter asked Jesus, how many times should I forgive my brother if he offends me? And he said 7. And Jesus said, no, 70 times 7. And so he was like, oh Lord, help me. And
that was per day.
Per day. Yes.
Right.
Thank you, Rebecca, for bringing that out. So if you think about that, someone dealing with someone who is a continual offense to them, but then you learn to take into account, this person has been shipwrecked. This person got hit by a semi. And maybe the way I think they're supposed to be, or the way they're supposed to relate to me or treat me or talk to me, is broken. And it's not to justify what they're doing. I don't think that's what you're saying, right, Terry?
Right.
It's not to justify what they're doing, but it is to say, I will have compassion as you grow and I grow in this area of our hurt. We're working on this situation.
Yes.
And I think that just says a lot. And so where we really want to get to, because if you think about it, I think some of the scriptures we looked at, and I'm not going to read a whole lot of scripture, but there are a couple of scriptures we looked at in reference to how the word torment is used. And this whole freeing yourself from torment, the backdrop is Jesus using a parable saying that a man was forgiven for something. And then he was forgiven graciously by someone for a whole lot. He had done a whole lot. And I'm paraphrasing just to make it short. And then he goes out and somebody asks him to forgive them for something real small. And he wouldn't forgive them. And so as a result, the Lord over this was angry with the man who wouldn't forgive for a little, and he had forgiven him for a lot, said, you know what? I'm throwing you in prison. And so because you won't forgive, I'm going to make you stay in prison until you can give everything you're supposed to give. Jesus said, this is kind of what we go through if we don't forgive. We're thrown in a chamber, in a jail cell, to be tormented. And so what that torment looks like is some of the things we that have been described. The strife in your mind, that argument, that movie that keeps playing over and over, but it's only going to the places that you were hurt and what was said to you and what was done to you. And you just keep watching that scene over and over again, and you keep hearing the reasons why you shouldn't be doing this and saying that. And you can't even have your mind clear and free to just think about the flowers. Think about normal things. It's torment. And that eventually plays over into your life, and you may not even realize that it is one of these uses of the word was tossed like a ship in a sea. Like you just trying to make it, but you're tossed. Another one was let me see this one. Toiling. And this same thing is talking about a boat trying to cross over what should be calm waters, but it's toiling because the waves are and that's the same word used for torment. How many people are living a life they want to do the right thing. They want to live a right life. They want to be in proper relation with people. They want to prosper in financial ways. They want to get through, and they have no idea that the toil that's in their life is directly connected to their unwillingness to forgive. Distracted. It's a pebble in your shoe. It's a thorn in your side. It's a stigma in your mind. It's clogged the flow of creativity in you to think and resolve issues in your life. It's unforgiveness. So,
Aaron,
yes.
Terry said something that I think is so key for most people is they alone. It's hard to come to forgiveness when you're isolated. If you don't have a multitude of counselors to help you make wise decisions, then who are you bouncing this stuff off of? Because you're in your own. That's why the word says that an idle mind is the devil is all over that.
Boy.
That normally that idle person name with a group of people being idle. You know, a lot of
Now,
times.
I got to
Go
tell you
ahead.
a story that's directly related to say how true what you're saying is. I was walking in church. This was when I was in Atlanta. And this sister looked at me. She looked me right in the eye. She said, "Aaron, why are you so angry?" And I was like, "I'm not angry." I was like, "I'm not angry." And you know, and I remember when she said that, I walked into the sanctuary. How's she gonna just walk up to me and ask me why? I mean, and it just started going on. And it was like gently, the Holy Spirit was like, "You're not." I was piping and I didn't even realize how angry I was or what I was angry about.
Mm.
And it took some time for me to stop and think about that. And I'm just saying, Pam, to your point, if somebody hadn't have been there to
Right.
put a finger on that.
Right. Right.
And I mean, I got 1,000 stories like that where somebody just coming up to me saying, "Hey man, I remember a brother who sat down, he was like, man," he sat down, he started telling me the story about somebody distanced from God because of their bitterness. And but he just told it like it was just a story, right? And I was thinking, why is he telling me all this? I had no idea that this brother had saw in me that I was bitter and I was disconnected from life, my family, the things I love in life, and I was just out there.
Wow.
And later on, we had served together in this feed the hungry ministry kind of thing. And he said, "So you got what I was saying, didn't you?" After the bottom fell out, you know, after the bottom, he said, "So you got what I was saying?" I was like, man, I realized now. So, and I'm just saying that to just exemplify
Absolutely.
why it's so important to stay connected to people. Because a lot of times our biggest problem is just like Jesus say, first get the beam out your own eye.
Yes.
And then you can see clearly how to get that little twig out of your brother's eye.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Thank God for that brother.
I'm telling you.
Thank God for that brother. And as to what Pam said, we have to be around other people to see ourselves. We're not looking at ourselves. So it's a blessing if somebody can give you the truth about yourself. Make you take a look. My dad used to say, if too many people start telling you that you look like a horse, it's time to go buy a saddle. So, you know, and that's, you know, because we're not looking at ourselves. So yeah, definitely. That's good stuff right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be around other people to grow. We
Yeah.
Or you
cannot
need to be
grow
around
in-
the right people.
Yes. Because the truth is everything.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So we have a lot to discuss and we're ready for your comments. You that are listening now, if you got questions or comments you want to make, we looking right at them, we can respond to them. But so we got to turn the corner. We kind of have looked at, okay, so strife of mind, turmoil in my soul, inability to function in ways that I should be able to function that can actually affect me, not just emotionally, but physically. We talked about that last week. Bitterness dries the bones, all the things the Bible says about not forgiving people. Because unforgiveness will turn to bitterness and bitterness will corrupt you. that would defile you.
Mhm.
And so we got that aspect, and then it can also affect your overall well-being. I mean, think about the angry person that you walk up to, that you just want to take your order, but they mad. I mean, think about that bus driver. You get on the bus and all you want to know is what time does the bus stop running? And they just rip one for you. So it's all of these things that actually can make you the person that you don't want to be. And so what we want to see happen is to get free from the torment, because first we have to ask the question, who's hurt you? I never forget, I saw this lady. She was all out of sorts. She was just living away. And it's just like, I went up to her and I said, so who was it? She said, who was what? I said, was it you? Because after dealing with so many people, it became so consistent that I knew what was going on. I said, so was it your uncle? Or was it your brother? Was it your mom? Was it your daddy? So who was it that did that to you? And she just bent over wailing and sobbing. And all I could do was pray for her, because I was working, but that's what ends up happening if we don't look at this for face value, to say, if I can't get these voices out of my head, if I keep arguing with somebody and they're not in the room, I'm gonna raise my hand on that.
Real talk, yeah, real talk.
Woo! I got a whole conversation going on with somebody they're not even here. I'm glad y'all laughing. That means it's true.
Yeah, it's real talk. It's real talk.
We got a battle going on.
You know, what's interesting is how the world deals with that. The world will tell you that you need psychotherapy, give you medication, do this, and it really never solved the problem.
Right.
When it's a spiritual issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Mask.
Amen.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
We need the balm of Gilead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we need.
Yes.
And so if we look at this, ooh, that's a deep topic. I see that. Lord have mercy. Woo, boy, we'd be talking all day. We touch on that one. So I'm gonna mention it though, but eventually we got to go there. We got to talk about bitterness in marriage. We got to talk about bitterness after divorce. We got to talk about bitterness after the loss of a loved one to some senseless violence.
Yes.
We got a lot to talk about. We got to talk about the bitterness and the unforgiveness related to the racial tension in our nation. But here's the question. Here's the question I want to ask. So now we're looking at, okay, so how do I actually get free? So, but before we do that, I want to ask this question. Terry, you made the statement. You want to get revenge. Is that wrong?
It is wrong to want revenge. Now, to want repayment, to want to be, there's another word that escapes me right now. It may be recompense, maybe. You want it validated. Actually, what can occur is when the lady that bent over wailing, crying, when you do that, you're calling out something. The person has to realize it has to be the Lord telling you this. There's something bigger than me and you for you to know this about me that has taken place in my life to cause me to be at this place. And I think that's a part of what happens when we talk it out. First, you got to be able to do what you just said, admit the hurt. You got to be able to say something hurt you to get over it. If you can't get beyond it, saying that was nothing. Oh, I don't really care. Well, you care because you're talking about it. You care because you're thinking about it. And you care because those thoughts are replaying in your mind. So it did affect you, no matter how strong we try to be on the outside. But once we can say it, Sometimes it's going to cause some wailing and some crying, because that's the hurt. That's the part of the torment. That's the part of the torment, and part of that breaking free is stating that I've experienced that pain.
Yep.
And, you know, I know I'm jumping around now, but that's what caused some of that self-medicating too.
Yep.
That society causes
Which
self-medicating.
goes back to another point that was made in our earlier discussion, which is sometimes we say, oh, that ain't nothing.
Yeah.
You know, that didn't hurt. I'm not hurt.
Yeah.
We living in denial that we really are drowning in pain.
Yes, and masking that pain and causing
right.
what? More bitterness. Definitely not going to forgive if it never hurt. You don't have any responsibility to forgive if it never hurt, right? So it's important, I think, the state that what brought the pain on. Like you said, who did this even to you? But I think we feel like a form of validation when someone else can say, I know that hurt. That's what happens in a lot of times in counseling. That's what happens in a lot of sessions when people get to finally talk to somebody about it, that they feel safe. They're in that safe place and can talk about that experience that was so painful. And when you can talk about it, so maybe revenge is not the word that I'm looking for, but maybe that someone's validating, you know what, that was wrong. You should not have been treated like that. But the main thing is we all got to recognize this. The enemy's job is to make us believe, even if for a second, that God has forsaken us. And those painful experiences and us not dealing with them because of it being ashamed and being embarrassed, and I got to be bigger than that, is one of the ways, and it even brings on the isolation that Pam talked about, is one of the ways he keeps us thinking God is not with us. God has left us. Where could he be? How could he let this happen to me? He must not be real. He must not love me. I must not be good enough. My family must not be good enough. And it's all with the same intent, the same to kill, steal, and destroy as we know it, to make us think that God is not for us, that God has failed us, that Jesus's blood wasn't good enough. And through holding unforgiveness and not dealing with that pain is one of the hugest ways that the enemy causes that division, keeps us from being us, keeps us from being we together in this thing, growing together, becoming who we're supposed to be. So yeah, I think we want it validated and acknowledged. People want to be heard about their pain. And I think sometimes if we can hear about the pain and pray with them, like you pray with that woman, that's what presses her through to the title of the subject today, breaking free, freedom from holding that unforgiveness, from the torment.
So one thing that I also believe that torments us, especially believers, is the idea that being angry and even wanting to be vindicated, that is wrong.
Yes. Okay.
And that you don't want to see justice. And I think it's unfair to believers to present it that way. When in all reality, everything seen and unseen, based on a fallen world, actually has to do with justice.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, the gospel, it revolves around justice.
Yes.
And the grace that God provided for us because of the justice that's coming. So I think that to say, well, you shouldn't feel like you want to see that person pay. Really? Well, I think that in the Bible, in the book of Revelations, you have these saints who had died for the gospel. Their souls were under the altar.
Yes.
In the holy room.
Yes.
Crying out, Lord, how long is it going to be before you vindicate us?
Yes.
The Lord didn't reply. What are you doing up here talking about vindication? That's so wrong. You let them know, I'm getting them.
Right.
And so I think that if we understand that this is why God says, vengeance is mine, said the Lord. He just said, he didn't say vengeance is wrong. He just said, in other words, you are not going to do it right.
Right. That's good.
That's why we got all these problems. You're not going to vindicate yourself the right way, whether that's making yourself through self-medication or hurting somebody. You're not going to do it right. So you have to release vengeance to the Lord. And that's when your healing process begins, to put vengeance in the right hands. Because it shouldn't be now. And so if we understand that everything that Jesus shed his blood for revolves around vengeance.
Amen.
It's about judgment and justice.
Right.
And eradication of evil. So when we say things to people and we try to put people in these emotional boxes that they shouldn't feel, first, if somebody trying to tell you how to feel, stop listening to them.
Yes.
I'm just gonna put that out there. If somebody is trying to tell you you shouldn't want, what you can verify in scripture is right.
Right.
Stop listening to them. They don't know what they're talking about. They're coming from a humanistic standpoint, and they're not dealing with things on a spiritual basis. You have to stop listening to them. And I'm not sorry for saying that. So, but this is where I'm firmly convinced, and I've seen this in my own life. You want to see some great relief come? First, you have to start with, you know what? It's actually okay for me to want vindication. I just can't do that myself.
Right.
I have to let that go. And forgiveness now means to give up my right to vindicate myself.
Great. Yes.
So you're actually taking the gavel and saying, you're free to go. I'm mad at you.
Right.
I don't like what you did. I may not want to be around you anymore, but you're free to go.
It's like when your capture comes, like the police, they come and you break free from this captivity that you've been in, and the person is arrested. Right then and there, that's that vengeance that you hand over to the law. They're supposed to, this is where all this justice comes in at. This is now, even though you've been in this place for years or whatever, and the pain of all the stuff that you missed in life because of this unforgiveness and this captivity that you've been in. Now, once the law comes in, it's time to release it. Not saying that you don't remember or whatever, but what you want done to this person has to be let go, because now they're in the hands of the law, which should, exact the proper judgment.
And that's one of the problems that people have with the law, and they have that problem with God. They feel like the law is not doing anything fast enough, and neither is God. And this is where you have to understand that if you decide not to forgive, forgiveness is hard. Well, I'm not going to lie to you. Forgiveness is hard. It's decision.
Yeah.
To allow vindication, to allow vengeance to belong to someone else, and to trust whoever that is to do it in their own time.
Right.
So if you're going to put it in the hands of the law, you got to trust the justice system.
Right.
And if you see that man still walking around, you got to make a decision that you're not going to go take vengeance on him. You're going to trust the process of the justice system. Well, it's the same thing in the spirit. Right. If it seems like that person not paying for what they're doing, you're not going to become passive aggressive. You're not going to slander them. You're not going to do hateful things to them. As a matter of fact, if you can, you're going to help them.
Right.
Lord,
Right.
I should probably walk out. Glad I'm not in a place where people can throw rocks at me. Can't throw rocks.
I've learned in my life that when I turn things over to God, He doesn't allow me to see any of the justice, and he let me know he don't want me to see it. It's not for me, because it's for, if I let it go, to let it go. And a lot of times I would be like, well, God, I you ain't doing that. But then I realized in those situations, it was a lot of things happening behind the scenes in people's lives that I knew nothing about.
Mm-hmm.
So one particular person, I saw them one year, they had, all their hair was black. The next year, their whole head was white. So, and they were young, in their 30s. So, something they went through, so but I learned that it was healing and not continually worrying about the justice. That it was also part of the process of letting go, because it shows how far you've come in your forgiveness walk. When you don't have to worry about, or have to, because it's not your worry anymore. You gave it over to God, so it's up to Him. And then we also have to realize too, as hard as it is sometimes is to take, these are God's children, so He's not necessarily just trying to kill them off.
Right.
He's trying to teach them so that they can come to salvation, so they can come to Him.
Wow.
Good point.
Thank you for that. Yes. Keep going, Rebecca.
So yeah. So that's been hard. That's been a hard pill to swallow at times. Like, that God still loves these people. So God had to show me them in His eyes. These are just like, I'm His child, I'm His daughter, they're His son or daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so then if you a parent and you have kids and you know how they are when they get to arguing with each other, it makes me understand God, because I'm not mad at neither one of y'all.
Mm-hmm.
One of you was wrong, and I'm gonna address who's wrong, and if there's something, punishment or needs to be done before there are consequences, but these still my kids. So they all mad at each other, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, first of all, we're not gonna act like this, and I be wanting them to hug it out, but the point is, God is right. God is the same way, and that was a very hard. That was a very hard thing for me to see, because when people have wronged you, in especially in the one particular way I was wrong, it's very hard, very, very hard. But it's a process. God gets you there, and He brings you there when you're ready to receive that. He starts off, with giving you the comfort that you need, and then eventually, as you go down the road, it's just like anything else. It's levels to it. It's steps to it. But I just wanted to point that out, that these are God's children too, and some of them, won't get to salvation. It just depends on their mindset. But He wants to bring them to a place to see their wrong, and He wants he wants to give, He wants people to pay for, He's about justice, but He's ultimately about transforming the mindset, transforming the heart, transforming the action. And in that case too, then you as being a person that has been victimized by this person would then have a total healing, because they'll come back to you and they'll be accountable. If God gets a hold of them.
I think that this is a great moment to pause and really look at what you just said, Rebecca, because if we look at what was said earlier, which is vengeance don't belong to us, let God deal with that. And you take and insert a mama and her two children right here. A mama wouldn't watch two kids fight and then turn and say, oh, you mad at him because he did this? And, oh, yeah, that's wrong. So go ahead and have your way with it. And turn your child loose to have vengeance on it. You said, no, I will deal with them.
Right.
You stop what you're doing. And the child needs to release that to mama. Mama says she gonna deal with you. And that's why kids say, I'm telling mama.
Right.
And that's what we need to be doing. I'm telling daddy.
Yes.
I'm telling my father. So
Right.
it's a hard thing. And I'll tell you this too. I'm gonna tell you one quick story. I never forget really going through this. And this is back when I was in Atlanta. So this is, about 15, 20 years ago. And I'm really struggling with this. Like just getting my head around, man, I got so much chaos and strife in my mind, and I'm angry. And this dude telling me I need to forgive. I don't want to forgive nobody. Like, do you know what's gonna happen to me in my life? Do you know who did? These people still walking around, da 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 da. And this guy used to always walk up and down our street, and I used to feed him. He stopped by, he always drunk, and asked me, for a few dollars here and there, and I'd feed him and bring him. We sit in my house at my table, and I would feed him and stuff like this. And this same dude broke into our shed and stole my lawnmower. I was so angry. I didn't see him for a long time. Next time I saw him had to be 6, 7, 8 months. I used to see him all the time. Saw him, and when I saw him coming in the distance, I'm thinking like, is that right? Because he was hobbling. And he came up to me, he said, man, somebody robbed me, man, hit me in the back of the head with a crowbar. He said, I was in a coma for 5 months. And I'm not saying that that's what I wanted to see happen,
Right.
but it was in that moment that God really brought some real understanding to my heart. Like, do you want to see that happen to somebody? I'm like, no, I just wanted my lawnmower back. I ain't want, I didn't want the brother to go down like that. But it's like, this is why you got to let this stuff go.
Yes.
You got to let it go.
Yes.
The word is clear on why we can't see it too. Because the word says that we will gloat, like we will get puffed up at, it's almost like a little kid if mama come and she really do whoop them, and then later on every time, that's why you got a whooping, and so that is why God says, now I might have to turn this on you. So he's very clear about us not really seeing him handle that vengeance, because it does something to our hearts. And no, it may not be as drastic as, this dude getting hit in the head and, us bringing death, but it's something that comes in the place of the heart when we get to see somebody that has wronged us. It might be a smile or, just something that should not be there. So God is saying, I want to save you from that, because I don't want your heart to be messed up neither.
Right.
And then we can easily become those people that wronged us because of these things that we allow in our heart when this vengeance is taking place.
That's why Jesus
But
said,
that reminds me of when Rebecca was talking. It reminds me of Paul before he was converted, when he was persecuting the church. And once he got converted, I could imagine how the early church, when they saw Paul, what they thought about Paul, but they knew what he did. But if they would have did something to Paul while he was Saul, Paul could not have done what he's done in the New Testament. So I think that's a good example in terms of, we let the Lord deals with it, because the Lord knows a lot of things that we don't know.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, what we really want to embrace, I know for myself, is to continue embracing this reality. And maybe you don't know this. Forgiveness is hard, but not forgiving is actually harder. It is hard on your life. It's hard on your heart, and I mean your physical heart.
Yes.
It's hard on your soul. It's hard on your spirit. It's hard on your finances. It is not easy living not forgiving people. And it's a detriment to the well-being of your life. Yes. And it's torment. And so if you embrace the fact that, you know, it's not wrong for me to want to be vindicated. God is going to vindicate himself. God wants to be vindicated. How would he tell us, you shouldn't want to be vindicated? I don't. Oh, yes, he does. And he's going to be vindicated. And he made us in his image. He's just saying, vengeance is not for you. It's not for us. And so this is where the freedom begins. And notice I'm careful not to say healing, because forgiving someone and being healed, that's a whole nother live stream, because the healing process is totally different than letting someone go and getting free. A part of the healing process takes place with really letting the Lord massage, stitch, lubricate, rebandage, and work with us until we get to that place where maybe we walking a little bit now, but my leg was broke by that one. You know, I'm in a cast, but healing from wound, depending on how severe it is, sometimes it can take quite a while. But one thing I can tell you is it doesn't take forever, and it can be complete. You can be completely healed from deep wounds. You really can. And you can be comforted in a way where the very people that hurt you, you can then be like Jesus, who says, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. What a man, right?
Right.
What an example of where we want to be.
Right.
We don't want to be knocked off our horse every time this person walks in the room.
Right.
You know, we don't want this one person just got the power to suck the life out of your atmosphere, just kill your aura.
Yes.
You know, and or you know, it's that one person that can just, you know, it's just like, I hope they don't talk about it, and they do it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Terry said in the beginning, though, they are broken people. People are, especially when it's those deep traumatic things, those are broken people. And if you can get to the point where God can show you that they're broken, I've been there. I don't even know how to explain it, but it just does something to you to help with the healing process, because it's hard to hate people you pity.
Yes. Say it, girl. Say it. Yes.
Say that one more time, Rebecca.
Yeah, that's it.
It's hard to hate people you pity.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
You know, when you can see that, you know, they really are lost. They really are broken, and they're more broken than you to have even done that to you.
Right.
Right.
You know, and then so it just puts them in a place of like, man, I really feel sorry for you. I mean, you start feeling sad for them, even though they hurt you in ways that it's unfathomable. But it's like, wow, especially when they don't even admit it, because that's even worse.
It's hurt
That's
people. Hurt people.
Hurt people,
Yeah.
exactly.
And we never want to look at those people as being hurt, though. It's like that saying is so real, but it's like, do I want to dig into their hurt, or I want to stick with
I want to glorify my hurt. Right. That's right. But that's what
you want acknowledgement of your hurt, because you know that's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, like Terry said, validation. Because you know we're taught that you don't want to show weakness, so just even saying you was hurt by somebody is like they got some kind of big power over you. You're so weak, and nobody wants to feel like they're in that type of position, because you don't feel like that necessarily. You know, but yeah, it's just a hard place to be in. It's a hard place to be in.
Especially if a person is dismissing your pain. That's
right.
Very, very difficult.
Yes.
So here's where, in our time we passed our time, but I think it's valid. I want to end on this note. So what we're talking about here is, and this is, I'm just going to end on the point that was just brought up, which is you can't hate a person that you pity. You don't want to hurt a person that you have compassion on.
Right.
You don't want to see something wrong happen to somebody that you got an understanding of why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
But no one but God can actually give you that heart. Now I know right now, people, you might say, man, but I want that heart.
Right.
And I asked God for that heart. I asked God. I asked him. I prayed. Understandable. But do you know that there are so many other details that God is working out in your life that revolve around just that one thing?
Yeah.
Because just like we said, it's you got the strife in your mind. You got you're destroying relationships. You can't hold down the job. You self-medicating. You got all these other things that are connected to this hurt that's in your life that God is working. His plan is it's unfathomable to even think about trying to understand God's process. So first we have to take this place of humility.
Yes.
And what do we know is the practical thing to do? So this is my favorite phrase, is we do the practical, God does the miraculous.
Yes.
So what is the practical thing that I can do toward a heart change? Well, one thing we said is we're not going to vindicate ourselves. We're gonna slam the gavel and say you're free to go. I'm letting you go. Now, I might still be hurt. I might still be angry, but I am going to do what's right concerning that person, period. Now, I know I've been angry and I haven't done like emotionally what's right toward a person. Like don't want to give them a fair shake if I'm talking to somebody else about it, like be really honest.
Yeah.
And that's deep. It's those kind of things that we really gotta be practically doing what we need to do if we want to see the miraculous.
Aaron, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
So in that, it just be mindful. You don't feel like you want to let it go. You don't feel like you want to forgive them. It's the action of just really I think you have to speak it out loud and just say, okay, God, I forgive this person. I'm giving it to you. God has even had me point out what they did. And some, I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but that does give a release. It might take months for me to feel it. So I just want to point that out. You're not going to feel necessarily different right away. It's just the action. And as you take the action, then eventually it just becomes a part of you. And you wake up one day and like, oh, okay, I really did that.
That's great. One thing, you know what? And I understand if you guys got to go, I understand, but this is worth digging into. So it's not about a feeling. If we think about how forgiveness came to us, forgiveness was not about a feeling. It was about what is right.
Yes.
Who is God? God is love. For God so loved the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know God is angry with sin, right?
Right.
We know that,
Yeah.
but it didn't say God was so angry that he came and saved us. God had to actually deny every feeling of sorrow and anger, every feeling that he had, looking down on this crazy world.
Yes.
To send his son, and he had to deny every feeling that he had in his heart, watching his son die, for us to be forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
Every feeling had to be denied. So it's not about a feeling. I'm glad you brought that up. So in actuality, if we look at it this way, forgiveness is not a feeling. Forgiveness is judicial.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I started off talking about that?
Yes.
It revolves around justice. Forgiveness is judicial. You just make a judgment.
Yes.
A judge can let a man go free and at the same time be like, you better hope I don't never see you in this courtroom again. Because he's angry and he don't like what he did, but he gonna give him a chance. He's gonna forgive him. So if we look at forgiveness as something you just got to let it go. And now what is the practical thing for that judge to do? When he sees the man on the street, hey, how you doing? He may not want to have a whole lot of, fuzzy conversations with him, but he is just a man, right?
Right.
But you got to let it go.
Yes.
You got to let it go.
And may I please add that
Please.
although it's not a feeling, there's peace of mind that comes with it. So you still get experience peace from it.
Yeah.
That's a good
As a
point.
result. Yeah. And I love
Very
what
good.
Rebecca said. Please, let's all, any listeners and viewers, always keep in mind what she said about God is all about the transformation. No matter how
Right.
wrong the two kids are, no matter who was
Right.
right, who was wrong, who started it, God is all about the transformation that's trying to take place. That was powerful when she said that. Yeah.
Yes.
So there you have it. I know we really still, it's like the tip of the iceberg. Next week we'll have some young people on here. They all just barely 20, and they got a lot to talk about. Lots of things concerning this forgiveness, and so you're going to hear a totally different perspective of what it means to forgive in their world. And how they, because most of these people have gone through the process or are in the process of healing. So not just forgiving, but now healing and seeing the fruit in their life. So gear up for that. That's going to be a great conversation. It's going to be wonderful to hear how God is working in these young people's lives. And most of those conversations started right here in this room with me and myself and Rebecca. You remember those days, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Lot of hard conversations, a lot of anger, a lot of pain, a lot of what Terry is talking about. Voice it. I'm angry. This happened. Just say it. That's what we say. Just say it. It happened. It happened. And we did put the challenge. Will you pray for them? So we're going to put the challenge right now.
Yeah.
I've never seen a person's heart change so much for a person as for a person that they prayed for. So what I had to learn how to do, and I'm going to challenge you to do the same thing. Whenever the curtain is pulled back for you to watch that show again, pray and watch it close. Every time that argument starts up, pray and watch those voices go away. Whoever the enemy is coming to come and throw up, because remember God said, I'm gonna throw your sin in the sea and I'll never bring it up again.
Right.
You know it ain't nobody but the devil bringing it up, right? Every time he bring it up, pray for that person.
Yes.
He'll leave you alone if you start praying for that person.
Oh yeah.
Stop accusing
Oh yeah.
you, praying,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm holy
Right away he will.
praying for some transformation and power and change. God bless him in every way.
Yes.
Just leave you alone, like, oh wait, whoa, because I ain't trying to see nobody change.
Right. Right.
He's trying to get them blessed.
Yeah. Interfere and take up that division. Keep that division from being there. Yes.
Yes.
I love it. I love
So
it.
here's your practical. This is just one simple practical thing to do. Every time that curtain is pulled back, every time that conversation is started, whoever that person is being accused in your mind, pray for that person. I want to challenge you to do that. I want to challenge you to start taking note of the needs they may have, thinking about the pains that they may have endured in their life, or it may be things you know about that have happened to them in their life. Pray for their healing. Pray for their strength. Pray for their children. Pray for their marriage. Pray for their family. Pray for their overall well-being. Pray for them. And watch how your healing starts to come to fruition in the area of you being tormented. Amen. Because you have not been able to forgive. So God bless y'all. I hope this is helpful to you. I do want to read through some of the comments, and we kind of addressed them as I was reading them, about saying it with your mouth and not letting it go in your heart, praying for it. That's how we deal with that. One one of the biggest downfalls. They said that this is one of the biggest downfalls, that you saying it, but you haven't done it. And so the practical thing is to pray. And the way you know that you've forgiven someone is not necessarily how you feel, but it is actually what you do. Are you trying to hurt them? Are you trying to withhold things from them? Are you being passive aggressive? Are you not doing what you know you could do? Are things coming to your heart to do for that person, but you won't do it? That's how you know whether you've forgiven or not. And even if you in a moment realize, you know, I was minded to call this person, I was minded to pray for this person, and I didn't do it, just say, Lord, I release them again. I'm sorry for holding on to that. I release them again. Pray for them right then and let it go again. All right. So if that comes up, Jesus said 70 times 7 in one day. If it comes up again, forgive them again.
Right. And if I'm pleased, may I also add, and if in the situation I do not do what the Lord has told me to do, and I ask God, forgive me, I'm sorry, let me do this again, believe it, he's going to give you opportunity to do it again. So I got to make sure I'm obedient. So this is where the obedience comes in even the more. Yeah.
You do the practical, God will do the miraculous.
Yes.
So hey, till next week, I look forward to you. Announcements. So one announcement is in the description below, you will find, if you are in Kankakee and you are married, we're doing a virtual date night. And it is looking like it's going to be so much fun. There's a contest involved where like whoever decorates their table the best gets a gift card. We already get the gift card. And then we're going to do a 60-day challenge for the couples that enter. And at the end of the 60 days, the couple that has the highest level of meeting the challenge is getting a weekend getaway to a really nice place. So I'm telling you, you might want to get on that. And so it's a 5-week series. It's on Saturdays, but all of the information is in the description below this video, as well as you can click on the link and go ahead and register. Only one person per couple needs to register. So that's there. And then the other thing is, so in the description below, if you would like to give, first we want to say thank you for the giving that you have done. We really appreciate that. It is very helpful. We've been able to do a lot of stuff. Got some really cool stuff going on with our location, and it's exciting. I'll keep you up to date on that. If you want to stay in a loop on what's going on, especially with where we're moving forward to in the year 2021, just text the word loop, LOOP, to 815-707-3007. Till next week, God bless you all. We love you. Remember, you do the practical, God does the miraculous.